Imagine boarding a luxury yacht for what should be a quiet, glamorous job, and then seeing a woman fall into the sea. A bloody handprint on the glass, and everyone insists no one was ever in that cabin. That's where the woman in cabin 10 begins, and it does not let go. Hey, welcome back to Movie Recaps Hub Podcast. Today, we're diving into The Woman in Cabin 10, 2025. I'll take you through the whole story, every twist, every reveal, in a chill, conversational way. So get comfortable, and let's go. Laura is an award-winning journalist for The Guardian. She arrives at work to cheers from co-workers for her latest piece exposing corruption in an NGO. While checking her email, she finds an exclusive invitation from the Lindstad Foundation. Her boss, Rowan, calls her in and gently asks how she's doing. With a heavy voice, Laura replies, "They drowned the informant in the NGO case." Rowan suggests she take some time off, but Laura insists on working and shows the invitation. The invitation is from Lindstad, a wealthy Norwegian shipping heiress who has staged for leukemia, and her husband Richard are taking board members on their new yacht for a 3-day voyage to attend a fundraising gala in Anne's honor. They've invited Laura to cover the story. Rowan looks unconvinced, but Laura assures her it will be the break she needs. The next day, Laura boards the yacht Aurora Borealis. Before going in, a steward named Carla asks her to remove her shoes. There she meets Adam Sutherland, a wealthy socialite. Carla tells Laura she'll be staying in cabin 8 and mentions that Dr. Robert is assigned to cabin 2. Laura introduces herself to Robert and learns he is Anne's doctor. Later, Laura is stunned to find her ex, Ben, aboard the yacht taking photos of the event she's covering. They once worked side by side. He tries to strike up a conversation, but Laura keeps her distance. While being shown to their cabins, Adam introduces Laura to Heidi, who runs an art museum in Mayfair, and Heidi's husband Thomas joins them. Adam jokes that Laura will be spying on them. Heidi says, "Oh, Richie's Juro," in that social, slightly sarcastic way. An hour later, Laura settles into her room as the yacht sails toward Norway. As the yacht starts moving, a burned cigarette stub rolls from a nearby balcony toward her, and she throws it in the garbage. That evening, Richard thanks his board members and friends for coming and expresses gratitude for their considerable donations, which will go to people who cannot afford private treatments. He admits his wife's health is poor after traveling, but assures everyone they'll meet her the next day. Richard then announces he invited Danny, a popular musician, to make their stay more magical. Richard spots Laura in the crowd and thanks her for coming. She nods. Night falls and Laura finishes getting ready for the party while chatting with Rowan. Just as she's about to head downstairs, she spots Richard and quickly ducks into nearby cabin 10. Inside, she finds a blonde woman and quickly apologizes for barging in. At the party, Laura feels overdressed compared to the modestly dressed guests. She apologizes nervously, but Heidi reassures her that she looks good, and Ben also compliments her. As dinner progresses, Sigrid, the head of security, informs Laura that Mrs. Lindstad would like to see her after the meal. After dinner, Sigrid leads Laura to the library and asks her to wait. Moments later, Anne enters. Laura thanks Anne for inviting her, and responds that it is a pleasure to have her, and explains she's been following Laura's work closely and personally invited her because she has a knack for giving voice to the voiceless. Suddenly, Anne starts coughing violently and tells Laura she recently stopped taking her medication because she didn't want to depend on drugs anymore. She asks Laura for her opinion on a speech she plans to deliver at the gala, admitting that her brain is not what it used to be. After reading the note, Laura asks, "Are you going to give all your money away?" and replies wistfully that she is giving back what they took over the years, that the foundation will be entrusted to people far smarter and kinder than she and Richard were. Laura is impressed, and says she would like to continue refining the speech tomorrow, and Laura agrees. As Laura comes downstairs, Ben emerges from his cabin. Teasingly, Laura asks if he's working late. He offers that he can if she wants. Laura tells him she doesn't make the same mistake twice, but admits, "You were a good mistake." Ben apologizes, "I'm sorry. I was a dick in the end." She just smiles. Later that night, Laura jolts awake from a nightmare. She hears a loud noise, steps onto the balcony, and sees a splash and a woman floating in the water. She also notices a bloody palm print on the glass divider. Laura immediately notifies Carla and a mayday call is declared. Sigrid asks who she saw in the water. Laura replies, "I don't know. It was only for a second. I assume it's the blonde woman from cabin 10. Carla checks every room to ensure all guests are present and indeed everyone is accounted for. Eventually the news reaches Richard, who comes down as Laura explains what happened and how she had met the blonde woman in cabin 10. The captain interrupts, saying no guests are staying in cabin 10. The person scheduled to arrive canceled 2 days ago. Laura mentions the blood on the glass, but it now seems to have vanished. She also points out the woman had been smoking earlier and checks the waste bucket only to find it empty. Carla explains that they empty the buckets in each room every 2 days. The captain calls off the search, much to Laura's frustration, and cabin 10 is locked. The next day Laura approaches Richard, asking to see his crew to figure out if the blonde woman could be one of them. Richard obliges. Laura examines the crew but doesn't find the woman she's looking for. Disappointed, she heads to the library and asks if they can continue their conversation from yesterday, but insists she'd like to rest as her medicine has worn her out. Later Laura vents her frustration to Ben, saying everyone thinks she's crazy. She insists she actually spoke to the blonde woman. An idea strikes. She takes Ben's laptop to check the photos, reasoning the woman must have been photographed if she came to the yacht. As she scrolls, Ben tells her the photos aren't from the boat, but she keeps looking and eventually finds the woman. Laura shows the photo to Richard, insisting this is the woman who was staying in cabin 10. Ben clarifies the photo was taken at Adam's party months ago, but both Adam and Richard deny ever seeing her. Dr. Robert speaks up, suggesting yesterday might have been traumatic for Laura since she had only recently witnessed a woman drown. Shocked, Laura asks Robert how he knew about that. Ben admits Rowan had told him about the incident. Laura demands to know why he would share something so personal, and Ben replies that he was worried about her. Richard tells Laura he will have people look for the woman in the photo and in the meantime arranges a spa session for her. After the spa, Laura takes a bath and notices someone has written the word "stop" on the bathroom door. She asks the worker if anyone entered her bathroom, but the employee says she didn't see anyone as she had gone to the laundry room. Just then Adam comes out of the sauna. Laura asks if he's been in her room. He replies no. Laura notices a security camera and asks the crew if she can review the footage. They tell her it's turned off for guest privacy. While showering later, Laura spots her hair in the drain. Thinking quickly, she takes a Ziploc bag and climbs into cabin 10. Inside she examines the drain and finds a lock of hair. Then Laura rushes to Ben, insisting she is not crazy. Holding up the hair, she says, "They said nobody has been in that cabin, right? This is the maiden voyage. If no one was here, whose hair is this?" Ben tells her to wait the next 32 hours. If Sigrid doesn't find the woman by then, he will accompany her to lodge a formal complaint. He warns her not to anger the other guests in the meantime. Laura secures the evidence she found in the sink drain. At lunch, Richard gives a heartfelt speech about Anne, who ends up tearing up in the middle. Later the group heads out for whale watching. Laura uses this opportunity to ask the crew about the blonde woman, but they all deny having seen her. As she's about to head to her cabin, she's stopped by Robert, who suspiciously asks why she is coming from the crew staircase. Laura tells him she wanted to explore the yacht fully. Robert advises her to enjoy the peace while it lasts and leaves. Back in her room, Laura finds the evidence still safe. She notices a button on the floor and suspiciously puts it in the Ziploc bag with the hair, then stashes it in her coat. Later, while relaxing on deck, someone suddenly pushes her into the pool, and the cover goes over her. She fights for her life until guests notice her. Ben asks what happened and Laura explains someone pushed her to silence her. She notices a missing button on Robert's cuff and asks Sigrid about her coat. They tell her it's in the laundry room along with her other belongings. When she asks for the Ziploc, they tell her there wasn't any Ziploc bag in her belongings. Ben joins her and Laura accuses him, saying only he knew about the hair and that the culprit went through her coat. Ben admits he told others about the hair evidence as a way to defend her since everyone thinks she's crazy. Laura tells him to stay away. After this fiasco, Danny decides to leave the yacht to avoid scandal, and now everyone blames Laura for Danny's departure. That night Laura hears a knock at her door and catches a glimpse of a hoodie. The same one the blonde woman from cabin 10 was wearing when Laura first saw her. Laura follows the figure below deck and finally confronts the woman. She asks who she is and whether she was the one who pushed her into the pool. The woman denies it and warns Laura to back off or she will be killed. Frustrated, Laura lunges at her and to her shock she realizes it is Anne, and knocks Laura down and locks her in a room. Moments later Laura wakes up and tries to open the door, but it proves futile. She puts two and two together and realizes the blonde woman is impersonating Anne. The woman returns and Laura asks who she is, pointing out that she doesn't even know and had stopped taking her medication or about the appointment and had made with her. Laura concludes that the body thrown overboard that night must be Anne's since Anne had planned to disinherit Richard and he killed her. The woman explains she didn't know Richard was going to kill Anne. She was hired to impersonate Anne for one day to sign the will, as Richard wanted his wife's foundation for himself so he could inherit all the money when Anne died. The woman reveals Richard approached her via Facebook after using AI recognition software to find someone who resembled Anne. He also invited her to parties so they could become comfortable around each other. That night, however, Anne caught them in the act and Richard killed her. The woman admits she's ashamed but says she only agreed to be part of the plan because she's poor and has a daughter to care for. Laura asks her name and the woman replies, Carrie. Laura tells her that after signing the will Richard will likely kill her as well and they need to work together. Carrie however locks the door and leaves. Later Ben comes to check on Laura, but Robert stops him, saying Laura needs to rest for a while after the traumatic pool experience. Hours later Richard orders Robert to search everywhere for Laura and instructs him to get rid of her once he finds her. Robert hesitates, saying Anne was one thing. I mean, to overdose a woman when she's dying, but now this is cold-blooded murder. Richard coldly reminds him that he has evidence of Robert overdosing and could send him to jail. In the end Robert reluctantly agrees to kill Laura. At midnight Carrie visits Laura and tells her what she heard. Laura urges her to go to the police, but Carrie tells Laura they would arrest her for being an accomplice. Laura tells Carrie that Richard won't let her go alive, but Carrie brushes off the warning and says she'll leave the door open. Laura assures Carrie she will stay safe until the will is signed. After that she will be in danger, but vows that she will not let anything happen to her. On the final day an announcement is made for boarding the boat to the gala's venue. Ben stops by cabin 8, but Carla informs him that Robert gave Laura a sedative. As the guests board the boat Ben backs out, deciding to stay behind to be with Laura. Meanwhile Laura sneaks out, enters the library, and retrieves Anne's speech. She tries calling for help, but Robert finds her holding a syringe. Laura runs, chased by two men through the corridor, and becomes cornered. Fortunately Ben comes to her rescue, but Robert stabs him in the neck with the syringe. Ben tells Laura to run, but she is stopped by Robert. In a final struggle Ben manages to choke Robert, but dies moments later. Laura jumps off the yacht and swims to the nearest shore, taking refuge in a small cabin. Meanwhile Robert updates Richard that Ben was killed while protecting Laura. He also admits Laura jumped into the water and will likely die in the cold. Richard orders him to get rid of Carrie after the gala. Later Carrie signs the will, surprising the lawyers with her change of heart. Laura eventually reaches the gala venue and is spotted by Sigrid. She tells Sigrid Anne isn't alive, and that someone has been impersonating her. Laura reveals the woman who went overboard that night was Anne, killed by Richard for trying to disinherit him. Laura hands the speech that Anne wrote to Sigrid. That evening as Richard gives his speech Laura interrupts, grabbing the microphone. Richard orders security to detain her, but Carrie commands them to let Laura speak. Laura tells the guests that this is the speech Anne intended to deliver and begins reading it. The letter explains how Anne wanted her wealth to be transferred into the Lindstad Foundation and controlled by an independent party. As Richard makes one last attempt to stop Laura from speaking, Carrie tells him to let her speak. Exasperated, Richard slips up and reveals that this is not the real Anne. He grabs a knife and demands everyone back off. Using Carrie as bait, he flees to the speedboat. Sigrid fires at him from a distance, and Laura finishes him off, saving Carrie. The police arrive shortly afterward. A few days later Laura publishes her article, and gets what she wanted. Richard's accomplices end up behind bars and Ben's sacrifice helps uncover the truth. Laura also keeps in touch with Carrie. That's the whole story of the woman in cabin 10. It's a slow burn that becomes relentless. And here the investigation turns into a literal fight for survival. If you enjoyed this recap, please like the video, leave a comment with your thoughts or your favorite twist, and subscribe to Movie Recaps Hub Podcast so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.